The movie begins with a lady journalist conducting an interview with Dr. Thomas Harbour, a physicist who has scientifically proven the existence of an afterlife in his research called the Discovery. Unfortunately, his discovery has led to numerous suicides as people seek to reach the afterlife. The journalist questions Dr. Harbour about his responsibility for these deaths, to which he denies any responsibility. Shockingly, right after his statement, a crew member shoots himself on live television, causing Dr. Thomas Harbour to disappear from public view. 2 years later, on the anniversary of the discovery, Will, a neurologist and Dr. Harbour's son, travels to the island where his father has converted an old mansion into his new laboratory. During his journey on the ferry, Will encounters Isla, a familiar face, and strikes up a conversation. Will's brother Toby picks him up from the port and guides him to their father's lab. Will notices numerous individuals wearing jumpsuits of different colors, working in and around the mansion. Inside the lab, he witnesses his father connected to a machine, conducting his latest experiment of capturing the consciousness of the deceased in the afterlife. Disgusted by the experiment, Will leaves the lab and engages in a heated argument with his brother about their father's actions and the presence of the jumpsuit-clad individuals. Toby explains that these individuals are people who attempted suicide but were saved by their father, who gave them a purpose and a reason to live. Later that day, while at the beach, Will spots Isla walking towards the water, convinced that she intends to commit suicide. He rushes to her rescue, pulling her out of the water and saving her life. Isla is initially angry at Will for intruding, but he brings her to the mansion and requests his brother to provide her with care, similar to the other residents. Toby insists that Isla must undergo the same admission tests as the other individuals in the mansion. Isla successfully passes the tests, which are conducted by Dr. Harbour himself. During a meditation session with a select group of patients, Will and Isla have a conversation. Will opens up about his mother's death, which he blames on his father's actions. After the meditation, Dr. Harbour reveals his latest breakthrough, claiming to have discovered how to record what people see in the afterlife. While everyone is amazed, Will remains skeptical. In Dr. Harbour's office, Cooper, the assistant, explains the functioning of the new machine to Toby, Isla, Will, and Lacey. To prove his experiment, Dr. Harbour suggests finding a dead body, and Isla proposes stealing one of the suicide victims' corpses. That night, Will, Isla, and Toby visit the morgue. While Toby distracts the caretaker, Will and Isla enter the morgue to find a suitable body. They end up taking the body of Pat Phillips. The following day, they attach Pat's body to the machine, but the experiment yields no results despite several attempts. Disappointed, Dr. Harbour leaves the room. Alone in the lab, Will reconnects a wire he had previously detached from the machine. Suddenly, the camera turns on, displaying a black and white video depicting a car driving through a rainy night, entering a hospital, navigating a hallway, and engaging in an argument with a woman. Will turns off the camera when he senses someone approaching. Dr. Harbour and Toby enter the lab, questioning Will's actions with the body. Will claims he was preparing the body for cremation the next day. Dr. Harbour expresses happiness to see Will helping out in his lab, believing it to be where Will truly belongs. Motivated by the video, Will embarks on an investigation, using the footage from Pat Phillips' memory. He identifies the hospital but cannot locate the specific hallway due to remodeling work done a decade earlier. Back at the mansion, Dr. Harbour calls for a meeting. During the meeting, he invites Lacey to the stage and inquires about her treatment in the mansion. Lacey praises Dr. Harbour but confesses that she had been discussing the failed experiment with her peers. Dr. Harbour accuses her of betraying his trust and asks her to pack her belongings and bid farewell to her peers. Lacey, devastated, glares at Isla. This prompts Will to confront his father about his treatment of Lacey. Dr. Harbour suggests that Will should stop pretending to disapprove of his work and acknowledge that he left because of his mother. He claims that their work was a joint effort. Will confides in Isla about the video, asserting that it captures Pat Phillips's memories rather than the afterlife. They decide to visit the hospital and search the records room for information on a patient named Phillips from over a decade ago. They discover the medical record of Pat's father, Connor Phillips. Upon rewatching the video, Isla notices a discrepancy in Pat's tattoo, as she observed it while attaching Pat to the machine. She points out that the tattoo seen in the video differs from the one on the actual person. This revelation indicates that the video does not record an individual's memory. Will insists they need to find the woman from the video. On their way to Connor Phillips' home address, Will stops at the beach and reveals his emotional attachment to it, recounting how he was drawn to it as a child. Isla confides in him about her own experience, revealing that she had a son named Oliver who died while she was asleep. Upon reaching Connor's house, they meet Pat's sister, who shares her grievances about Pat abandoning their dying father and leaving her to care for him alone. She shows them a matching tattoo and explains that it signifies their bond. One day, Toby urgently summons them because Dr. Harbour has hooked himself to the machine to prove its functionality. They witness a video capturing Dr. Harbour's thoughts on their anniversary, during which their mother prepares dinner for him, but he is too preoccupied with his work to pay attention. In the video, Dr. Harbour follows his wife to prevent her from committing suicide and agrees to have dinner with her. After being revived, he explains that the afterlife serves as an alternate version of the current life, providing an opportunity to rectify past mistakes. Dr. Harbour realizes that if his research becomes known, millions may resort to suicide to correct their wrongdoings and attain a regret-free afterlife. He orders the destruction of the machine. The next day, as Dr. Harbour prepares to address the patients, Lacey arrives and shoots Isla, claiming that she only relocated her and didn't kill her. Distraught, Will connects himself to the machine and finds himself back on the ferry. He encounters Isla once again, but this time she explains that he is trapped in a memory loop, which is why she appears familiar to him. She emphasizes that they both need to move on since Will saved her from drowning at the beach. This revelation explains the sense of familiarity that Will experiences. Despite hearing his father and brother attempting to revive him, Will succumbs and dies. The final scene shows Will walking along the beach and discovering a 5-year-old boy playing in the water. He rushes to the boy's side just as the waves threaten to engulf him. The boy's mother arrives, calling out to him. Surprisingly, the boy's mother is Isla, and the boy's name is Oliver. Isla scolds Oliver for running away and expresses gratitude to Will for saving him. Will and Isla fail to recognize each other, but it becomes evident that their connection is the reason for Will's affinity towards the beach.